What's going on, guys? Today we are looking at Reed Sheppard. And Reed Sheppard is not my number one player on my big board, but he is certainly my favorite player from this year's draft. And I gotta say, it's close for me with his college teammate Rob Dillingham, but Reed Sheppard has a special place in my heart. And so we're gonna start this video like we do. We're gonna go over his strengths and look at his weaknesses, then talk about where I think, what range in the draft he'll go, who are his comps, and then lastly, what teams I think would be a good fit. So Reed Sheppard is a really, really good guard. And he's somebody who, second game of the season for Kentucky in their game against Kansas, immediately was somebody who flashed for me as this guy could be really good and should be drafted a lot higher than he was on the big boards at that time. He was like either not on the board or maybe as a second rounder. And same goes for Rob Dillingham for that matter. And both of them had similar trajectories. Now they're both projected to be lottery picks. And what does Reed Sheppard do well? Well, it's a lot of things, quite frankly. He's a tremendous three-point shooter. I think that's where most people would start. And for good reason. He finished the year over 50%. He could shoot off the catch. He could shoot off the dribble. He could shoot over contested players as well. And he had a lot of consistency with the jumper. Obviously, 52% for the season says that, but sometimes you get a hot start or a really hot finish. But it was really throughout the whole year, conference play, non-conference play, he was really good. And then as a shooter. And then the other thing I would say with Reed is he's got a really good feel for the game. He's got great basketball IQ. He really knows, for the most part, when and where to pick his spots. He's a tremendous advanced passer after a rebound or in transition, meaning like it's kind of like the Chris Paul hockey assist. He won't necessarily be credited with the assist, but he gets the ball up the court quickly, and now somebody else can either score or make a pass leading to another teammate's bucket. And he does a really good job of that. And then on defense, while he's not a tremendous one-on-one defender, as an off-ball defender, he's one of the better off-ball guards that you'll see. He averaged over 2 steals a game. He had a meaningful number of blocks for a guard who's listed at 6'3", maybe not even be that tall. He's got tremendous foot quickness, but really his hands are really fast, and it allows him to get deflections, get in the passing lanes, and get steals, and really impact the game from the defensive end of the court. And so, as you can see, he's a well-rounded player. Tremendous basketball IQ, good vision, and just really has a good feel for the game. Now, where can Reed Sheppard get better? Well, it's kind of interesting because some of the areas that he could improve in kind of comes from some of the areas that he's really good at. So while I say he's got really good instincts and he sees the floor really well, sometimes this can lead to too much. So meaning that he'll gamble for a steal and he'll get beat and give up a basket. He can be a little too careless with trying to make some passes and make turnovers in succession. So it's not just one turnover, but 2 or 3. And sometimes, while for the most part he's a steady, even-keeled player, you don't see his emotion necessarily change, but you can see that he's kind of losing the rhythm, the feel. And this happened more so in conference play than it did in non-conference play. And while I felt like he was a consistent shooter still in conference play, I felt his overall performance did kind of fluctuate. And that is why he's not my number one player on my big board, as much as a fan of Reed Sheppard as I am. And certainly on the defensive end of the court, I alluded to it earlier, he's not an outstanding athlete, and so he is susceptible to being beat off the dribble. He's not a great one-on-one on-ball defender. He does need help. He can stay in front of some guys, but he's, if I were to grade him on a scale of 1 to 10, he's probably somewhere around a 5 in terms of purely on-ball defense. So where do I see Reed going in this year's draft? I think he can go anywhere between 6 and 11. Somewhere in that mid to late lottery area, I think makes a lot of sense for Reed Sheppard. And some guys that I think make sense as comps for Reed Sheppard are guys like Fred VanVleet and Mike Conley. Now, I want to make a couple of points about those two guys. I think those two guys are better on-ball defenders, even though they're about similar size to Reed Sheppard, especially when they were coming out of college. And then I also think, though, importantly, Reed Sheppard is a much better shooter than those guys were when they came out of college. So more for me, the reason why those guys are kind of my comps right now is they're just really steady, smart guards who are undersized but can hold their own on the defensive end of the court, and do a good job of setting their team up and putting them in good positions to score. Well, they may not necessarily get a ton of assists. They do get a lot of like hockey assists, move the ball well kind of thing. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with those two players as comps. And then in terms of team fit, Spurs would be a good fit. They could certainly use a guard, and they can make up for some of his weaknesses just by having Wembanyama. Wizards, they need talent. They just simply need talent. And then lastly, the Hawks. With them, I think they're going to lose either Trae Young or DeJounte Murray, which to me would open up some options for a guy like Reed Sheppard. And I know they're trying to get away from the two-point guard offense, but I think Reed fits in more because he can play on the ball and off the ball. So whichever guard they end up sticking with, I think Reed would be a good fit next to whoever they keep. So that's what I think about Reed Sheppard. I really love the guy as a prospect. I think he's going to have a good, long NBA career as a solid role player to just beneath star-level players, where I really end up seeing him end up, rather. So let me know what you guys think about Reed Sheppard, and stay tuned for the next prospect.